All right. His name is Byron
Rasan.
Ruzan.
There's a lot of near death tonight. Because I too almost died a few months ago. It was the Wednesday after Christmas. Backing up, ever since high school, I get this bad cough in the winter. And back in high school, it was like, it wasn't that bad. I could manage it, but as I got older, it's gotten worse. And I ignored it because I'm a guy. And I was coming back from St. Louis, where I'm from, and I was on the Greyhound, and I started to feel something going on. But my cough didn't really kick in this winter, so I didn't think about it too much. I get off the Greyhound, I go to the Halstead bus, or the bus stop, and I'm waiting for the bus, and I get this coughing fit that is so bad that I stop breathing. Or, I'm sure that's not medically accurate, but that's how it felt. You know, like I couldn't breathe for about 20 seconds. And I collapse. And nobody's around, because it's like in the middle of the night, and it's a holiday week, so nobody's fucking there, except for a cop who drove by, not noticing me on the ground. And eventually I kind of pick myself up, I get on the bus, I get my way home, and I'm still like, I'm barely breathing, my heart is racing, I feel it going. And I did what any stubborn redneck would do in that situation, I tried to sleep it off. And I didn't realize at the time what was happening, and I eventually realized what happened was I would lay in bed, and I wrapped up. And because my lungs were barely functioning, my body tried to go to sleep. But because my heart was going like that, I would wake up. So like, have you ever seen a dog wake himself up from a dream? I was doing that like every 20 minutes, like that. And this goes on for about 2 hours. And eventually I get up and I try to walk around and I'm still like crazy. And my roommates kind of come up to me and they know something's wrong. So they eventually convinced me to walk across the street to the hospital and check myself in. So I go to the ER in the hospital in Wellington. And they immediately, because I'm like leaning over the counter, I'm talking to the nurse. I'm barely breathing. I'm like, man, please, I need to sign. Like that kind of thing. And they get me into like this, not a room, but like a little check-in area. And this nurse, she takes my vitals, she kind of looks at her monitor, she does this little thing. She checks something on me, looks up at the monitor, looks down at me, looks up at the monitor again, and runs out of the room. Without saying a fucking word. If anybody here is a medical professional, and you take someone's vitals, do not run out of the room as if they're about to blow up. She comes back in, and she goes, okay, Byron, and I've only been in the ER for like 10 minutes at this point. And she goes, okay, Byron, we're going to get you a room right now. We need to get your heart looked at. I go, ma'am, I don't think you understand. I'm here for my breathing. And she goes, no, I don't think you understand. Your heart rate is 150. Which, for those of you who don't know, all of your heart rates right now are about 85. So 150 is crazy. So they check me in. They put me in a room. I'm laying in a bed. Got a little, heart rate monitor beep thing right here. And they just keep coming in and out. Eventually, they give me x-rays. And this doctor walks in. Before he even says a word, he looks scared shitless. And he's got the chart in his hand, or the x-ray in his hand, or whatever. He goes, hey, Mr. Rasan, I need to talk to you about your x-rays. Do you have any history of heart problems? Like, once again, no, my family doesn't have any history of heart problems, and neither do I. He goes, has anyone ever told you you have an enlarged heart? No. He's like, your heart is double the size it's supposed to be. And this is what he does next. He goes, so how are you feeling? And like, well, I'm still having trouble breathing. And if I think I'm feeling a little better, he goes, are you sure? You're a medical professional. Do not, and you're reading someone's chart, do not look at them and then look behind them as if the predator just reappeared right behind them, looking scared shitless. So I'm in the ER for like 12 hours, probably a little bit more than that. I've never been in the hospital before as an adult, ever. I've never even spent the night in one before this. And they're like, okay, we're gonna check you into a room. And I'm still thinking in that term of like, I'm not staying here. They're gonna give me a shot or a pill or something and going home. And they're like, and it was very, like, not trying to be condescending kind of thing, but like, I don't think you understand how close to death you are right now. We're gonna get you a room on the cardiology floor. So they put me up in the room, and keep in mind, I'm still thinking about the enlarged heart thing. So like, one of the first tests they did was this older doctor comes up, does an ultrasound. Does an ultrasound on my chest. And this guy's clearly been doing it for years. He does an ultrasound on my head, my chest, and he's like, yeah, okay, everything's good. And he starts packing up. I'm like, whoa, hang on. When you say everything's good, what do you mean by that? He's like, well, I mean, you still have the fast heart rate. We still can't explain that. But otherwise, you're fine. And I look up at him and I go, but the guy in the ER told me my heart is twice the size it's supposed to be. Is that not true? And he goes, no. If you are a medical professional, and you just told someone that he is not dying, do not say it with the same gravitas as a college student who didn't do his homework. Hey man, did you finish that report? No. See, this leads to a new problem because now they don't know what the fuck it is that happened to me. And backing up for a second, for those of you who didn't see before, I do have a legitimate genetic disorder. All my joints hyperextend. And since it's not a enlarged heart to ask me something, and since this is unusual, clearly that's why my lungs stopped working. But they bring in, and at one point, I counted. I had 5 cardiologists and a nurse standing around my bed at the same time. And they all started asking questions at the same time. And they're repeating each other. And not only they're repeating each other, they're asking the same questions I was asked in the ER. So I'm being asked the same questions 5, 6 times in a row. Ready? I might not survive this monologue. So they start asking me questions, like, so Mr. Rusan, do you smoke? No, I don't smoke. Come on, you smoke. I've never smoked anything in my life. Okay, well, does your family have any history of heart problems? No. Do you smoke? No. Oh, so your thumb bends backwards? Clearly, that's why your lungs stop working. And most of these guys I only see right then. And after that, it's just like this whirlwind thing. It's basically like drive-by empathy. So like, I'll see them once or twice as they walk through the room. Mr. Rusan, I just want to see if you're okay. You're okay? Cool. Thanks, Mike. Hey, I just want to make sure you're still alive. You're still alive, right? Mr. Rusan, you got a light? Ah! I almost got you. Almost got you. And this is amidst all the tests that they gave me. And I counted. I had 2 or 3 ultrasounds, a stress test where they put you on the thing where you run. There's a word for it, I just don't know what. They did a stress test they did with a big electromagnet thing, and about 7 or 8 x-rays, amongst God knows how many blood work. I got irradiated so much my brother will never have kids. And at one point, just out of the middle of nowhere, after 3 days of this, of just non-stop test, questions, test, questions, test, questions, this nurse comes in, and she starts like unhooking things, and she starts packing stuff up. And I go, I'm kind of curious about this. I'm like, man, what's going on? And they're like, they're moving you off the cardiology floor because your heart's fine. And she said it just like that. I'm like, man, 3 days ago, my heart was the size of a basketball. And now you're like, nah, my bad. You're fine. But we still gotta look at your lungs, so we're gonna move you to a different floor. They move me to a different floor. And still, here's the thing about me. I'm a great liar. And I can tell when people are lying to me, or at the very least, not telling me the entire story. And they were doing that. Every one of these doctors were doing it. I don't think the nurses were, but every one of the doctors were doing it to me. And on my last day there, after they'd run God knows how many tests, this doctor, I don't remember what I said to her. Her name was Dr. Ruiz, but she dropped it. she dropped the whole act. It was a visible thing. Where, like, she put down a chart, she sat on the end of my bed, and she goes, here's the thing. We don't know what's wrong with you. Your heart rate is fast, but it's always fast. It's consistent. Your blood pressure is fine. All of our small tests by your lungs confirm you can't breathe. Thank you. But every x-ray and major test we do, we can't find anything. We have no clue what is wrong with you. And I wanted to hug her just because it was honest.
Yeah.
You know, like, I can accept I don't know if it's from an honest place. It wasn't an act. It wasn't a doctor saying it. This was Amelia telling me, we believe you that something's wrong, we just don't know. And here's kind of the moral of my story. Normally when someone has a near-death experience, like a couple of people here have tonight, usually the moral of the story is, you know, do the thing, don't put off tomorrow what you can do today. Do that thing that you've always wanted to say, or say that thing you've always wanted to say. And I went through that, and that's fine. And I made the confessions to my family. I made a big romantic confession that, well, she's not here tonight, so that's how that went. That was my confession. But the moral of my story is going to be a different one. If any of you in this room have like bad news that you're avoiding telling someone, just because it's an unpleasant conversation or you think it's going to be awkward, tell them. Nobody wants to be in this hospital bed for 4 days, knowing that something's wrong, but no one's going to tell me what. I don't know is a better answer than no answer at all. And I'm wrapping up. Normally, that's where the story was going to end, but something happened about a month ago that I'm going to slip in here. I got a new job, and when you first get a new job, they give you all the HR paperwork, the W-2s or whatever, and they give me an insurance form, and there was a section there for prior conditions. And I put down a couple of things I know about, but I'm like, I should probably have the right wording of whatever they called it at the ER. So they gave me this stack of paperwork. It was a long brown envelope, about that thick of paperwork, but I never really looked at it because I never had a reason to before now. So I go out, I get the form right here, I pull out that stack of paperwork. The first thing I pull out is a 3-page packet about the dangers of smoking.